Well, hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Monday. Really excited to be here this morning. We're talking about math anxiety, which is a really big problem, but it doesn't have to be. So I'll wait just a moment before we get started. I've got my notes over here. I'm going to show you a quick little presentation, talk a bit about math anxiety and how you can overcome that. If you are watching live, can you put a thumbs up or something just to clarify that you can hear me before I start talking the whole time without anybody being able to hear me. And yes, I've done that before. I've talked for like 20 minutes. Okay, so we'll wait for that for just a moment. And again, the topic today is math anxiety, and I am going live every day for 32 more days to talk about some like mindset shifts around nursing school and ways that we can overcome some of those mindsets that block us from being successful. So that's called the Nursing School Mindset Edit. I'm doing it for 35 full days. This is day 3, I believe. Okay, so I haven't gotten a thumbs up yet, but I think everything is working on my end. So I'm just going to dive in. You can type in comments. I should be able to see those in real time and answer any questions that you have as they come up, okay? Alrighty, so we're talking about math anxiety. And if you're not sure what math anxiety is, or if you have math anxiety, or if you've experienced it, basically what it is it's a feeling of tension, a feeling of fear, feeling of apprehension around your math performance, okay? And people with math anxiety often think they are just totally incapable of doing any math, and this anxiety that you have around math, it's going to use up your working memory, okay? It's going to make it very, very difficult for you to solve problems because you kind of go into this fight or flight mode. Like if you ever had to stand up in front of the class in high school or junior high and do a math problem that was really complicated, then you were probably feeling some of that anxiety. And when your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, it really affects your ability to think logically, process things, and solve problems. So we want to dampen that down a bit so that you can perform well on your math exams and do dosage calculations at the bedside, whether you're a nursing student or a nurse, okay? So I used to have huge math anxiety my whole life growing up. I had this weird mindset, this weird limiting belief that you were either a numbers person or like a reading person, right? And I was really great at reading and language and writing. And so I thought, well, there's no way I could also be a numbers person. So I avoided math all throughout my undergraduate degree as much as I could. In fact, I took my algebra class in college as just pass or fail because I was certain I would get maybe a C- if I was lucky. And what happened with that was I ended up having to actually retake algebra when I went back to school to get my nursing degree. But you know what? I was actually really glad I did because it got me over my math anxiety and it really got me into enjoying math. And now I actually teach math to nursing students. So just because you have math anxiety today doesn't mean you're going to have it always. And we'll talk about breaking the math cycle of failure in just a moment. Now, the reason why students might have math anxiety, especially around nursing school, is because there's these things called dosage calculations exams. And most schools are going to give you a dosage calc exam pretty early on in that very first week or 2 weeks of school. And a lot of schools don't even teach you how to do it. They just say, you've got a dosage calculations exam on this date, and you have to get 100% or a really high score in order to continue with the program. So it's a really, really high stakes exam. So that amps up the anxiety. And if you have a little bit of math anxiety coming into it, and then you learn how high stakes this exam is, that can really, really make a difference. So let's pop in here. Let me switch my screen over. Let me see. Hang on one second, you guys. I need to do this. Let's test this. Oh my goodness, it's working. And now we can get my picture up here. Hello. Okay, so we're going to talk about kicking math anxiety to the curb. And in doing so, really increase our chances of doing well on that math exam. So I want you to know that, first of all, you're definitely not alone with your math anxiety. Studies show that nearly 1 in 5 US adults report severe math anxiety, okay? Severe math anxiety. And about 93% of adults report experiencing some level of math anxiety. So 100% you are not alone. So I hope this makes you feel a little bit better about having some math anxiety, especially if you thought you were the only one. A lot of times we think we're the only ones that are having a problem. And I want you to know that having math anxiety does not mean that you're bad at math at all. The studies actually show that students with math anxiety are actually average to high performers when it comes to math, okay? So if you've been feeling some math anxiety and you're tying that to your opinion about yourself, whether you're good or bad about math, maybe you can reframe that a little bit. So one of the first things we are going to do is reframe how we talk to ourselves about our math ability, about our math anxiety. So I want you to type in the comments if you're watching live, if you've ever said this phrase to yourself. If you've ever said, I am bad at math. If you've ever said that, give me a thumbs up or type in the comments and let me know, because I promise you, you're not alone. I said that to myself for many years. And very likely what happens is that this statement makes you feel really bad. It causes anxiety. It causes fear. It causes doubt about your abilities. It may even make you feel shame about your math performance. You start avoiding math and you lose trust. You don't trust that you will perform well when you are faced with a high stakes exam like the Dosage Calculations exam in nursing school. So all of these things, all of these feelings, all of these thoughts play into the math cycle of failure. And I'll talk about that with you in just a moment. But we're going to reframe how we talk to ourselves about math. And if you were on with me yesterday, I talked about this briefly, but I had a student, let me move my picture so you can see what she says. I had a student whose name was Amber, and she had pretty significant math anxiety. And she basically said to herself, I am bad at math. She said that all the time. And we worked on reframing that statement, talked about negative self-talk, how that sabotages your success. So she came up with this reframed statement that you see there on the left. My brain is open to learning how to do math. My brain knows this is hard, but I'm practicing and getting better every day. And she came back to tell me a few weeks into the semester how she had been so afraid she was going to fail out of nursing school almost immediately because of her fear of math. She came back to tell me that she was absolutely thriving in her program. So reframing that statement leads to things like feelings of calm when you're approaching a math problem. Hope that, hey, I can actually do this. I'm going to actually get through nursing school. It makes you feel disciplined, and you start practicing your math. You get more confidence in your math abilities, more trust in yourself, and even some pride in your ability to do math. So we're going to break the math cycle of failure. Let me move my picture over again. And basically what happens here is that you have a negative experience with math. This is typically how it starts. You have a negative experience of some kind. Maybe you were embarrassed when you had to stand up in front of the class and do a math problem. Or maybe when you brought your math homework to your parents, they said, ugh, nobody uses this. You don't need to learn how to do algebra. I don't know how to help you with that. Whatever it is, or maybe you do poorly on an exam. You have a negative experience, and then this leads to avoiding math. Some people have a negative experience and they lean into it and they study more and practice more and avoid this cycle. But a lot of people don't. So then you start avoiding math, because who wants to have another negative experience, right? And then because you're avoiding math, you're not practicing. Math is one of those things that you have to practice. It's like learning a language, right? You have to practice. So when you avoid math, you don't prepare and practice for upcoming exams. And then guess what? You have another poor performance, and that's a feeling of negativity around that experience. We avoid more, etc., etc. We're going around in this math cycle of failure. But with the right mindset and with some preparation, you can have a positive math experience and break the math cycle of failure. So, when it comes to doing dosage calculations, the key is consistency and reliability. You want to use a method that is consistent and a method that is reliable. And I recommend students use the same method for all types of calculations, because honestly, when you already have some math anxiety, you don't want to be scrambling around in your memory for a specific formula for a specific type of problem, when it's a much easier, much less stress, much more reliable to just do the same thing for every type of problem. So we're going to talk today about some basics about dimensional analysis so that you can use this framework, use this method, and you can use it for any type of dosage calculations problem. Okay, so I'm going to share the very basics with you here. So the very first thing to know before using dimensional analysis is that you must know your common unit conversions. So these are going to be things like kilograms to grams, grams to milligrams, milligrams to micrograms, 1 liter to 1,000 mils, tablespoons to mils, ounces to grams or mils, things like that. Okay, so know your common unit conversions. And then for step 2, and when going back to this, if you want a list of these, I'll put a link below this video. I hope I remember to do that. I'll put a link so that you can get this as a downloadable PDF, some of these tips about using this framework. So we're going to know our most common unit conversions, and then step 2 is simply apply those to dimensional analysis. So let's talk through how that actually works, okay? So let's do a little practice. We're going to convert 148 pounds to kilograms. So when doing dimensional analysis, you always start with basically what you're solving for. So we know we have 148 pounds. So just place that over 1. And then we need to convert pounds to kilograms. So if you know your unit conversions, you know that I have a little typo there, but 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. And then, sorry, no typo. I just put it in the wrong order. Sorry about that. So we have 140 pounds on the top, and then we know that 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. So you put the 2.2 pounds on the bottom because you want them to cancel out. And we'll look at that in just a second. And then that 1 kilogram goes on the top because 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds. Does that make sense? Sorry, I misspoke there for a second. So we'll cancel out the pounds, and then you can just multiply across the top and divide across the bottom. So 148 divided by 2.2 gets you 67.27 kilograms. So I circled the kilograms there because I like to do that to remind myself what I'm solving for. I want to get an answer that's in kilograms. So let's do another one. Let's convert 3,400 milligrams to grams. So we start by putting 3,400 milligrams on the top and just place that over the numeral 1. And then we need to convert milligrams to grams. So we know we have to put milligrams on the bottom here because we have milligrams on the top in that first fraction. And when you set them up like this, 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, then you can cancel out the units. And 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. So the 1 gram goes on top. And then we cancel our milligrams and we're left with grams, which is what we're solving for. So now we just multiply across the top and divide across the bottom. 3,400 divided by 1,000 gets you 3.4 grams. So that's basically how dimensional analysis works. Let's do another one. Let's convert 18 inches to centimeters. So what would you start with? You would start with the 18 inches because that's your known entity. That's what you're solving for. So 18 inches over 1. And then inches is on the top in this first one. Where's it going to go in the second element? It's going to go on the bottom, right? So 1 inch on the bottom, and 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters, okay? So now we look at this and we know we can cancel out our inches and we're left with centimeters, which is what we're solving for. So now we multiply across the top. 18 times 2.54 divided by 1. You don't have to divide by the ones, but you can if that helps you to stay consistent. And then we get 45.7 centimeters. Okay, let's do one that's an actual clinical scenario. So your patient is prescribed 1,500 milligrams of a medication, and each tablet of that medication is 3 grams. So how many tablets will your patient take? So we're going to start with what is ordered, which is 1,500 milligrams. And that's how we do dimensional analysis. We're going to start with the order. So 1,500 milligrams over 1, and then milligrams is on the top in this first element. Where does milligrams go in the next element? It's going to go on the bottom. And 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. And that's how we convert from milligrams to grams, because we're trying to find out how much of a 3-gram tablet they need, so we know we need to convert from milligrams to grams. And then we can cancel out, sorry, we're not going to cancel that out yet. We need to add that conversion factor in there. But the way we set that up, you see that we can cancel out the milligrams, and we'll do that in just a moment. And then we get our conversion factor, or the concentration that the medication comes in, whatever you want to call it. And look how we have grams on the top of the second little element. So grams is going to go on the bottom of this next one. And 3 grams is equal to 1 tablet. So you can see from this that we will be able to cancel out the grams. So let's cancel out milligrams, cancel out grams. What are you left with? You're left with 1 tablet, and you're trying to figure out how many tablets will he take. So then you can multiply across the top, which would be 1,500 times 1 if you want to include the ones, divided by 1,000, divided by 3, and you get an answer of 0.5 tablets. Now, this was a very basic example. They get much more complicated in nursing school, but the premise is 100% exactly the same. And look at that. You are doing dimensional analysis. Look at you go. So I also have this broken down into PDF format. I'll put a link to that below this video so that you can download that and get a little bit more practice. So I do want you to know that you can use dimensional analysis in all types of dosage calculations. Those standard calculations like the one we just did, you can use it for calculations where the medication is dosed by how much the patient weighs, which happens a lot in pediatrics. Medications that are dosed by time, meaning you're going to give like an antibiotic over 30 minutes at a continuous infusion rate. How many mils per hour will they get per minute or per hour? You also can do medications that are dosed by weight and time. For example, a medication that might be dosed at 0.5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. You can use dimensional analysis to figure out a complex dosage calculations problem like that. And also for drops per minute. If you're not using an IV pump and you're just counting drops per minute, you can use dimensional analysis for that as well. And the reason you can use dimensional analysis for all types of problems, the reason why it is so beneficial is because it's super organized, it's systematic, it's basically stress-free, and it's 100% reliable. You just set up your equation, and as long as you are understanding what the question is asking and you're canceling out everything and you're left with the unit that you're solving for, you'll get to the right answer. It's basically foolproof. And what you can do with using a format like dimensional analysis is turn the math cycle of failure into the math cycle of success, because you'll start having positive experiences with math. You'll start to accept math instead of avoiding it. And then you practice and you do that good preparation and you have a great performance on an exam. And guess what? That's a positive experience. So you go around into a math cycle of success instead of that other one that we won't even mention anymore, because that's not you anymore. You're going to lean into the math cycle of success. And when you feel like you can do math, again, you feel things like pride in yourself. You feel calm when you're approached with a math problem. You have hope that you are going to get through your nursing program and be able to do this. You feel disciplined in your approach. You start practicing more. This gives you lots of confidence, and you trust yourself and you trust that you'll arrive at the correct answer. So I would love if you'd hop into the comments and let me know which of these describes you right now. Are you A, still nervous about math, but you feel better about it? B, you still are thinking, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? I didn't know I was going to have to do so much math in nursing school. Or C, I can totally do this. I want you to pop into the comments with this, whether you're watching live or catching this on the replay. And I want to keep the good vibes going with you because I do teach you how to do this dimensional analysis with all those types of problems in Crucial Concepts Bootcamp, which is on sale right now for the summer sale. You can master dosage calculations by learning a step-by-step method that gets you the correct answer with every type of calculation. So I teach that inside Bootcamp. You're going to learn core concepts, which are things like foundation knowledge that's going to really set you up for nursing school success, that gets you ahead of the game, helps you stay ahead of the game, and also gain some clinical confidence, learning the basics of critical thinking and developing clinical judgment. That's just a fraction of what is involved with what you can get out of going through Crucial Concepts Bootcamp. So I just want to remind you, it's on super sale right now. It's 15% off. You get some fabulous bonuses. There's all kinds of modules to kind of take you from being a pre-nursing student into walking the walk and talking the talk of being a real nurse and definitely a successful nursing student. So I'll put a link below this video for that, or you can just go to my website, straightanursingstudent.com, click on courses in the menu bar. You'll see information for it right there. Okay, so thank you so much for hanging out with me today to go over math anxiety. I hope you feel a lot better. We have C. I think C was, I totally got this. So good job. I'm glad that that helped you. And if you have any questions about any of this or nursing school in general, you can pop them into the comments and I will respond to those in the comments. And you have a great day. Happy start to your week. And I'll see you tomorrow. I don't remember 100% off the top of my head what the topic is tomorrow, but it's going to be great. And I will see you back here for more of that. Okay, bye.